Thanks for staying with us. Now, many households continue to face financial distress. This as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. A new Ipsos poll has revealed that 3/4 of the public in 28 countries are concerned about the rising cost of goods and services in the next 6 months. A global country average of 40% say they expect their disposable income to fall over the year, while 25% expect it to increase. Let's discuss this further with Marie Harris of the Ipsos Public Affairs in South Africa. Thank you so much for your time this evening, Ms. Harris. Maybe let's just start with some background. Why did Ipsos find it necessary to take on this study?
We actually do a study every month of about 28 countries. Originally, it was the G20 countries, but over the last few years, the group has grown and it's now 28 countries all over the world. We ask basically a few things and also what worries them. And it has become clear to us over the last 4-6 months that the economy overtook COVID-19 as the biggest worry all over the world. And therefore, we went further into some questions about the economy, what drives the economy, why are people worried about it, what do they think will happen, and what do they think are the driving forces between the changes in the economy and the very high interest rates all over the world and the state of inflation all over the world.
So I know, of course, you've said that 28 countries in total are involved in this particular study. Maybe then just take us through the nitty-gritty of how the investigations actually take place and some of those key findings.
Good. We interviewed more than 21,000 people in the 28 countries. In some of the countries, the sample size is 1,000. In some of the other countries, including South Africa, the sample size is 500. It is done online every month. And if we look at the developing countries in the world, it is mostly the people who have access to the internet who form part of the sample. In South Africa, it's about 77% of the population who have access to the internet, whether it's by means of a computer or by means of their mobile phone or something like that. So it's roughly representative of, say, 3/4 of the South African population. It's in some other countries like the UK, Finland, Sweden, those areas, it is representative of the total population.
Ms. Harris, maybe then let's just zone in on South Africa. We're going through some very difficult challenges. COVID, of course, exacerbated many of the financial situations in many households. As Ipsos, are you concerned about these findings and what it means for South Africans materially?
Yes, definitely. But I think we also have to keep our perspective. We are not alone in this whole thing. The world is going through the same sort of turmoil and upheaval that is happening in South Africa. If we look, for instance, at issues of disposable income, we can see that 36%, a little bit more than a third of South Africans are saying that they really struggle. On the other side, it is about 40% to say, well, they do not struggle that much yet, but they do foresee that things are going to be worse in the 6 months to a year to come. And if we then look at the financial situation, the current financial situation, we see more or less the same, this dichotomy between a group that really, really struggle and the other group that say it's still fine, but we know in 6 months it is going to be much worse. South Africans are mainly worried about the cost of food, and they expect the cost of food and basic necessities to increase in the next 6 months. They're also worried about the cost of fuel. Fortunately, the fuel price came down this week, but still there's a lot of uncertainty in the world about this. So people are not really believing that it will keep on going down yet. And then the other big worries of South Africans are whether they will be able to afford the municipal services, and afford the basic expenses they have every month. Some of them are worried about being able to pay their mortgages. And then another big issue is that a lot of South Africans are saying, well, it's the upheaval in the world that's changing this. It's not really our fault. And that feeling is shared by many people across the world. That it's the general situation in the world that's causing this. And secondly, people are blaming the war in Ukraine, especially the people in Europe, in Western Europe, are blaming the war in Ukraine for their suffering and for their economic woes. And then in Turkey, we see something totally different. They are blaming immigration and people coming into their country from a lot of other places as the biggest driver of the uncertainty.
Quite interesting, Ms. Harris. Maybe then let's talk about some interventions. Are South Africans, these residents in all 28 countries, are we on our own, or is there something perhaps government can do to intervene?
I am not sure that government or governments all over the world are really capable of intervening. I think a lot of governments are also at a loss what to do in this unstable and uncertain times. People are saying, though, that they need to make plans. They're cutting their discretionary savings. Especially young people, say they're not going out that much. They will buy cheaper food, that sort of thing. Changing behavior is a different thing. People are not very keen on changing their behavior, although people are saying, especially in Western Europe, that are going into winter in the next 4 or 5 months, saying that they will use less energy. In South Africa, people say they will drive less. And I think that hangs together with the whole feeling of a lot of people after the COVID pandemic, that they're not going back to the office, or they don't go back to the office full time, so that they at least can save somewhat on fuel or transport costs. What is not very common is that people are looking at changing their own work situations. I said before that if we look at the results from the What Worries the World study, the biggest worry in the world is the economic situation. In South Africa, it is also the economic situation, but with a slight kink, in the sense that we are plagued by unemployment, by the fact that work is very scarce. So very few South Africans will tell you they are looking for a different job, or they will quit their job and find something that pays better. I think that is one of the luxuries that is not available to us.
Maybe then lastly then, Ms. Harris, you've touched on a number of things that South Africans can do to try and, save a couple of rands in their pockets. But I think many hearing this kind of information, you want to panic. Can you maybe then take us through what we can see happening with this study moving forward in order to maybe help and assist people who are seemingly going to lose some of that disposable income?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that people need to be very careful with spending their money. It is not going as far as what he did a few months ago. Definitely not as far as he did go a few years ago. That money is scarce. Money is scarce all over the world. We are not alone. And I do think that in the spirit of South Africans, we need to look at people and assist people who are less fortunate than us, who do have a job, who do have an income coming in on a constant basis. Because so many of our people do not work for a firm salary. In fact, I was shocked by this finding a few months ago when I realized it. 40% of South Africans who are working do not take the same amount of money home every month. Their monthly income differ. And I think, therefore, people need to be very aware, even if you know that your neighbors might have a job, they might not bring the same money home every month. Some months are are more affluent than others, to put it that way. And I do think that's the only way that we're going to get through this, if we look out for each other.
Thank you so much for your time this evening. That's Ms. Marie Harris from the Ipsos Public Affairs in South Africa, just giving us some more context on their latest study. To the story.